reflection of sunlight and transfer of energy. Photosynthesis. Let's get into this process of chemical reaction. Plants take water, sun, and CO2 to make glucose, the sugar that they use for food. They also put oxygen into the air so we can share, because oxygen is everywhere.
Hi guys, welcome and thank you for joining us for photosynthesis. Okay, it's gonna be fun, so let's do this. Science rocks. All right, vocabulary words. Make sure to open up your Google Drive or your old school spiral notebook for notes. Go ahead and copy down these 23 vocab words. They go in ABC order like this. Remember to come back later and create your own definition of these words. Like always, use your own words, draw pictures. So go ahead and pause this if you need to finish writing down the terms. So today we're talking about mainly photosynthesis, but it's important to throw in cellular respiration in the mix when we're just introducing this, because the two main processes by which organisms acquire energy and release energy are these. These processes are complementary to one another. So during photosynthesis, light energy is converted to chemical energy when green plants capture the sunlight and use it to build sugars out of carbon dioxide and water. So if you look at the chemical equation for photosynthesis, you're going to start off with carbon dioxide. So you've got 6 CO2. And you're also going to use water. So you've got 6 H2O. So that is going to yield with the help from the sun. So you're going to need this energy from the sun. So it's going to yield or make or produce glucose. Glucose is like sugar. It's like food for the plant. So it's C6H12O6 plus some oxygen. So yay, remember people breathe in oxygen, so plants actually produce that for us. So we've got 6O2. All right, so it's important to know the items that are needed for photosynthesis. Those would be called the reactants. So carbon dioxide in water and sunlight are needed for photosynthesis. Those are the reactants of the chemical equation. And the products are what are produced. So the two products of photosynthesis are glucose, which is like sugar, it's like food for the plant, and oxygen, so yay, we can breathe. All right, so get this. Now, just a little bit about cellular respiration. What's going to happen are the products of photosynthesis are the reactants in cellular respiration. So check this out. We're going to take our glucose, and we're going to take our oxygen, which were the products, but now they're the reactants of cellular respiration. Okay, we're going to take our reactants in photosynthesis, which is carbon dioxide, and oh my goodness, that's going to be produced in cellular respiration. All right, as well as water. Here we go. And also your sunlight or energy, but it's actually going to be in the form of ATP. Okay, so if we were to write out the equation for cellular respiration, all right, it's going to start with glucose. So you've got your C6H12O6. You're going to add your oxygen. Okay, and notice those reactants came from the products of photosynthesis, all right, and that is going to yield or make or produce your carbon dioxide that's needed for photosynthesis, all right, your water, okay, and also your energy is going to be in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. All right, so there you go. Photosynthesis and cellular respiration, they're complementary to one another. Okay, so where does photosynthesis occur in a plant? All right, photosynthesis actually occurs in these little organelles called chloroplasts. Okay, chloroplasts, like the one shown right here, they're cellular organelles that are shaped like flattened little discs. Okay, they contain stroma. Stroma is this fluid that's like light green, and stacks of thylakoids. Thylakoids would be one of these little green ovals, and then a stack is actually called a granum. So chloroplasts are filled with chlorophyll that give it that green pigment in the different colors. They are the site of photosynthesis. All right, so these chloroplasts are where photosynthesis goes down. Chloroplasts are found in the cells of plants and other eukaryotic photosynthetic organisms. So we're in the leaf. Okay, if you were to look at a leaf underneath the microscope, you could see the cell wall, and the little green discs would be each chloroplast. I like this graphic here. During photosynthesis, it shows that plants absorb water from the soil through their roots and carbon dioxide from the air, okay, through something called stomata in their leaves. And then they convert the water and the carbon dioxide into sugar, okay, and oxygen within their chloroplasts. The rate that a plant is able to perform photosynthesis is affected by the amount of color, like wavelength of light, available to the plant. So you're going to need that light energy from the sun. The amount of carbon dioxide in the air, okay, and also the temperature of its environment. Make sure to watch this awesome video sometime explaining more about photosynthesis. Practice question time. All right, number 1. The chemical reaction for photosynthesis is here. So it needs carbon dioxide and water, and it produces the glucose, sugar, and oxygen. The chemical reaction for cellular respiration takes that glucose and oxygen and produces the carbon dioxide and water. So, what can be said about these two reactions? All right, and we talked about this. So, if you look at the chemical equation for photosynthesis and you look at its products, what it produces, okay, it takes the products from photosynthesis and it uses those as the reactants in cellular respiration. So if we just read through and find that one, we'll see the products of photosynthesis right here are the reactants of cellular respiration. Number 2, which process provides a vital connection between the sun and the energy needs of living systems? Is it A, cellular respiration, B, photosynthesis, C, succession, or D, all of these? You could probably go ahead and mark off succession and all of these, as that is not the topic we are on. We haven't talked about primary or secondary succession. So cellular respiration or photosynthesis. All right, you've got to remember that photosynthesis is the one that provides a vital connection between the sun and the energy needs of living systems. Remember, producers like plants are able to transform the radiant energy of the sun, okay, into chemical energy. Remember, it needed the sun and it needed water and it needed carbon dioxide to be able to do its thing. So the answer for this one will be B. Number 3, organisms undergo many different processes in order to be able to store energy and utilize that energy. Through which of the following processes is energy stored in the form of glucose? All right, we've got endocytosis, which is like engulfing materials into the cell. That does not make sense. We've got phototropism, which does not make sense. And we're back to cellular respiration or photosynthesis. So we've really got to know which one is the process that energy is stored in the form of glucose, okay? And it is going to be photosynthesis, but let's look at this. If you remember the equation for photosynthesis, you needed carbon dioxide, and you needed water, and you needed sunlight, all right? And it's going to produce the sugars and the oxygen, O2. Okay, so this sugar here is the glucose, okay, and it's producing it, and energy is still stored. So then cellular respiration is going to take that glucose and it's going to produce energy in the form of ATP. Okay, when it's released during cellular respiration. So it's photosynthesis where that energy is actually produced and stored, all right, in the form of glucose. Number 4, what type of energy transformation takes place during photosynthesis? All right, so let's cross some of these off by the process of elimination. We've got A, chemical energy is converted into light energy. All right, if you weren't really sure, you can maybe keep that one. B, light energy is converted into chemical energy, so it just has those flip-flopped. Let's see, C, potential energy is converted into kinetic energy. All right, we haven't even spoke of that. And then chemical energy is converted into chemical energy, which no. Okay, so let's look at A and B. And when you think about photosynthesis, all right, during the process of photosynthesis, you've got to remember the sun, okay? So that is light energy. Okay, so light energy is converted into chemical energy. This energy is stored in the bonds of those glucose molecules, that C6H12O6. Okay, so that chemical energy is stored in the bonds of glucose molecules synthesized during this process. So we're going to go with the one that starts with light energy. So B, light energy from the sun is converted into chemical energy that's stored in those bonds of the glucose. Number 5, which of the following are reactants in the process of photosynthesis? Okay, so you'll need to know that reactants are the things that are needed. So they're going to be on the left side of the equation for photosynthesis. You kind of have to know two things: what are reactants and what's the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so if you remember the chemical equation, or just kind of like what is needed, you'll remember that there's 6 CO2, which is carbon dioxide, plus 6 H2O, which is your water, plus remember your light energy from the sun. Okay, and it yields, or it produces, the glucose, which was C6H12O6, plus the 6O2, the oxygen. Okay, so the reactants are the things that are needed. So you're going to need carbon dioxide, you're going to need water, and you're going to need sunlight, but that's not on there. So carbon dioxide and water would be C for number 5. Last one, number 6. During the process of photosynthesis, chlorophyll within the leaves of plants captures light energy from the sun to produce simple sugars, that glucose. What gas is released into the air as a byproduct of photosynthesis? So byproduct, photosynthesis produces two things. All right, if you remember the equation, photosynthesis needed carbon dioxide, it needed water, it needed sunlight. Okay, then it's going to produce two things that are both products. By means two, so two products. It produced the C6H12O6, which is the glucose, which is the simple sugar it talked about. The question wants to know the gas, all right? It also releases the O2, which is the oxygen gas, so we can breathe. So we should thank the plants and the trees for this. So 6 would be A, oxygen. Okie dokie, after you fully cover the topic of photosynthesis, let's get into this. You should be able to describe and interpret a model showing that photosynthesis uses sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to make oxygen and sugars. These sugars provide energy for living things. So I challenge you to create a project, a presentation, an experiment, something to show your teacher that you can explain photosynthesis. Let's get into this.